Hi, my name is Ashley Rickens, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about my favorite personality thing, which is seeing how, in many personality theories, the content of the theory itself can actually be related to the life experiences of the theorist. I specifically wanted to focus on Sigmund Freud, Karen Horney, and Carl Rogers. So first I wanted to focus on Freud because he's probably one of the most well-known figures in psychology as a whole. His work on psychoanalysis was one of the first official personality theories, and it had major impacts on society and the future of psychology. One of the things that Freud believed was that instincts were kind of the motivations behind behavior. So in his theory, he explained how the body and the mind would communicate to work together and try and fulfill needs. And that communication between the body and the mind is the instinct. And there were actually two different types of instincts, the life instincts and the death instincts. So life instincts are mainly directed towards things that we need to survive, like food, water, and air, but Freud also considered sex to be a life instinct. He actually believed that sex was our primary motivation as humans, but the word sex was much more broadly used than its usual meaning. He kind of related it to the word love, so things like friendly and affectionate feelings can also fall under the umbrella of sex. In Freud's eyes, sex was more so a term for the things in life that brought pleasure in any form, not just specifically one type. So death instincts are where we can kind of start to see Freud's personal experiences come into play in his personality theories. He developed these a little bit later in his life, after his daughter died and after World War I, and his cancer started getting worse. So aggression and death kind of were at the forefront of his life at this point when he developed it. So in death instincts, Freud argued that as humans, we have the unconscious wish to die, and that kind of manifests as the aggressive drive, which is where that wish to die kind of directs aggression towards other things in life. One of the bigger points in Freud's theory of psychoanalysis were the psychosexual stages of personality development, and specifically I wanted to focus on the phallic stage and the Oedipus complex, which is where a young boy develops feelings for his mother and a jealousy for his father, and Freud actually said that this came from his own life experiences and his jealousy with his father. Next is Karen Horney, who focused her theory on neurotic needs and trends. And neurotic needs are just defenses against anxiety that can sometimes become a permanent part of personality. Her theory had a focus on childhood and the need for affection in childhood. And this is because she felt neglected in her own childhood. Especially because she was a girl, she felt that her father didn't give her enough value, and she tried very hard to get affection from her mother, so she was very compliant and clingy, and she just still didn't get enough affection. So she eventually started to rebel, which is part of the focus on childhood that she talks about, is rebellion if there's not enough affection. After having her kids, she was just unhappy and overwhelmed. She'd had affairs in her marriage and was still just unsatisfied with her life. This is probably because she was raised to believe that a woman should be a mother, and she was just not happy with only being a mother. And this can be seen in her definition of tyranny of the shoulds, which is trying so hard to attain unattainable goals that it makes you unhappy. And it can also be seen in her descriptions of motherhood versus career. She kind of came out of that rut she was stuck in, that unhappiness, by arguing that women should be able to find their own identity and develop careers and things like that. Carl Rogers is most known for his development of person-centered therapy and his self-actualization theory. He explains self-actualization as when your ideal self, which is who you want to be and who you'd like to see yourself as, lines up with your actual behavior and what you do in your life. Rogers also placed some importance on childhood and development of personality, specifically talking about conditions of worth, which is a parent's approval or disapproval of what their child does. Growing up, he was very competitive with his brothers and competing for his parents' affection and pride. but he ended up going to China for a while in college, and he kind of started to break free of his parents' constraints, and he started to become more liberal and change his views on life. This wasn't taken well by his parents, and you can kind of see that reflected in conditions of worth and his definition of conditional positive regard. When only being positively regarded for things that the parents like, a child can kind of stunt their personal growth and their journey towards self-actualization. Along with this, his theory kind of talks about having trust in oneself and having the freedom to make your own choices. So the final thing I wanted to explain is just why this is my favorite personality thing, and I think that's just because it's super fascinating to see how a person's life experiences can entirely change the trajectory of their life. These personality theorists based their theories on their personal experiences. And although not everybody experiences these things, their theories can be applied to many different people.